Good morning. Welcome to Truth, Wellness, and Psychic Adventures. I'm Kristin, and as always, with me is Polly. Polly, how are you today?
I'm doing so great. I'm so glad that Mercury retrograde is over
Oh,
because I had a little glitch anyhow, but thank you God that that's done.
yes. Thank you, God. Speaking of which, God, angels, all the fun stuff. Our guest today is Julie Jancius. She's everyone's favorite angel medium, I think. Julie, how are you? I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. How's that for a welcome?
Kristen, Polly, this is amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Yay! Okay, this has been a long time coming, I will say, because Polly and I have been listening to your podcast, Angel Podcast, for quite a while. Last year, 2023, I was part of your angel membership, which I want to talk about toward the end. But right now, just so everyone has an idea of who is Julie, can you give us kind of a little backstory on how you discovered your gifts and kind of your path on where you're at?
Oh, yeah. Well, this is not the path that I had thought I would be on whatsoever. I grew up very religious. I was in a professional career, really working with some of the biggest donors here in Illinois. And what ended up happening was my dad passed away. And I didn't realize that when you have a loved one pass away or somebody very close, a friend, even it can happen with a pet, that your spiritual gifts can activate in that moment because they're so coming through to you from the other side.
You know what? That
And
makes sense. I never thought about that, but you're right. Like a big moment like that, something that really jars you and connects you and opens you up. Yeah, I never thought about that being the trigger.
I think it's vibrationally what's happening is that they're in a different vibration. And, we think that time, we say that people passed or they died. They didn't. Their energy is still around. It's just in a different place. I call it the other side. And it's a different vibration because they've gone through their life review. And being in heaven on the other side, you have to raise your vibration in order to be there. And so when they're connecting with you on a different vibrational frequency, which, if you want to hear them, forces you to increase your vibrational frequency. And so what happened for me is every single time I was brushing my daughter's hair, which is clairtangents because you're actually touching something. So I'd be like my hands on top of my daughter's head before preschool. And I'm combing through using this big old paddle brush, which is the only hairbrush that I had ever remembered using. And this voice starts to come in. Now, I should tell your listeners that I wasn't talking to my dad at the time. We were estranged. I kind of held some moral bounds when he cheated on my mom. But every single time I would brush her hair, I heard in my own internal dialogue, she needs a hairbrush like I used. She needs a hairbrush like I used. And it repeated so many times every single time I brushed her hair all month that I had this second thought within, which is that voice isn't me. If that voice isn't me, I'm going crazy. Who is it? What is it? And fast forward an entire month, I'm sitting at work and my sister continues to call and call and call. So I'm like, okay, take this. And she goes, Juge, dad's passed. And boom, right out of my third eye, I get this vision of him brushing my hair when I was a little girl because he worked nights and he would get us ready and off to school. So I had this vision of him combing my hair when I was little, and he was using this wooden handlebar boar's bristle brush that I just had not thought about in decades. And I go, oh my God, my dad's been talking to me.
Oh my gosh. And I love that it was a dad and a little girl's hair. Like, I love that
Mhm.
connection.
Yes.
That's so cool. Okay, so that was the moment it came through and you had the realization like I can connect. Was there ever anything when you were a little girl that you thought like maybe did you have an imaginary friend? Did you ever feel something special in church or anything like that?
Oh yeah, all the time. Well, the first thing that I wanted to be when they asked in third grade, went to Catholic school, what do you want to be when you grow up? Pastor, priest, right? And they were like, well, you can't be a priest unless, you're a guy. Okay, I'm not a guy. So uh, then I'll be a nun. They said, okay, but just so you know, you can't have kids. So I was like, all right, well, that's out. But little things would happen constantly. Like when we were back in the 80s, we had those station wagons and the rear view, like you could sit facing the car behind you
Yes.
and see people like broken down or animals on the side of the road or like a turtle trying to cross the street. And I'd always ask my dad to stop and to like help those people. And he said, Julie, well, you can't stop and you can't help everyone. So I heard in my intuition as a young girl, put your hands into a prayer mode, like right in front of your heart. And I go, okay. So I did that in the back of the station wagon. And they said, now tilt your hands and your fingers to point to the person who needs the help. And I said, okay. So I did that. And they said, every time you see a person who needs help, send them love and energy and angels, and we'll be right there to support them. When I was little too, I felt things in my bedroom. Like I always felt a great grandmother in my bedroom.
And you knew it was your great grandmother? Yeah,
Mhm.
just
Yeah,
instinctively
she's
you knew.
always in the corner chair. And I would talk to her. I couldn't have my toes out at night because I talked about how things would tingle my toes at night, like they'd play with my toes. So I had to have my feet covered at night because I
My
didn't like
sister and I used to joke that we would lay there and be scared of something in our room, and you'd be sweating, but you had to be under the blanket because it was gonna protect you from everything. Like, "I will not take this down comforter off. It is my shield."
yeah, yeah,
I felt like that
100%.
as a little girl.
It did. Still feels like that sometimes.
Does your daughter, do you think she has these gifts? I mean, I guess essentially we probably all have them. It's just how tapped in and tuned in are you?
Yeah. Have you ever heard people say that at a certain point, kids start to forget things?
Yes.
Um, she has started to forget some of the things that she would say before. But
Mm.
for example, we moved during COVID into our house now. And there was a woman who had lived in here with her family and her young kids, and she passed away. And the very first night that we were in this house, my daughter goes, Mom, there's a woman here. And I go, yeah, because I knew too, I knew what she looked like. And I said, describe her to me. And she did. And I said, is she a good energy? And she said, yeah, she's just welcoming us into the house. She's not going to stay here. But she saw her with grandpa on the other side, my dad. And I had seen before she even said anything that my dad and my grandmother and this woman who owned the house had helped us get this house because through a series of just wild signs. During COVID, we had lost a house to cash offers. It happened so much throughout COVID. And it was just a miracle that we got this house.
That is awesome. So, your husband then, what does he think of your gifts? Like when you met him, were you all in or was he part of like your journey in growing it and discovering it?
All right. Do you say swear words on this podcast or do you keep it clean?
We well, Polly
We
hasn't spoken
swear.
much yet, but boy, do we swear.
I'm just taking it all in. I'm like on the airplane seat here.
Yes. We do swear.
Okay. All right, I got some fucking opinions about this. So, there are a lot of spiritual teachers out there that really irk me. And I feel so grateful and so blessed because I have gotten to interview almost every single spiritual teacher that I've wanted to because I've been reading spiritual books since age 13. Had all of them on the podcast and gotten to talk to them. The one thing that is really irking me right now is that there are people out there saying to folks that if you're not in a relationship with another person who's very spiritual, highly spiritual like you are, then you're in the wrong relationship. And I couldn't think that that is farther from the truth because the fact of the matter is that every single human being has their own path and their own journey. And if I came to you and said, just get quantum physics, like, Julie, why can't you just get quantum physics? Just understand it. It wouldn't help me to understand it more. And so you have people in these different relationships where each individual is going at different speeds spiritually. And we're like, well, why isn't that other person more spiritual? They should just get it. No, they shouldn't. They're on their own path. So my husband is the sweetest, kindest, most spiritual man. He does not know that he's spiritual. He doesn't understand what spirituality is because it's just so innate to who he is. So I'll give you an example. I hear him all the time if there's a spider, and he'll talk to the spiders in the house, and he'll be like, come on, little guy, you got to get in this cup. We can't have you inside the house. I'm going to find a home for you outside. And he does. He goes and he finds a house for them out back.
Oh, I do it differently.
Oh, yeah. I do too.
I do a slightly different pattern.
Yes.
But I want to be like that.
Yeah. But if you asked him, he would say that he's agnostic, not atheist. He doesn't not believe in anything. He knows that there's something higher, but he doesn't know what he believes. He doesn't have it figured out. And so I prayed on this early in our relationship, and the angel said, when it's right for him to come into his own spiritual path, we will bring it to him, and you don't have to do anything to open him up. So one Christmas in COVID, he came to me and he's like, okay, so I've been watching this documentary on the Beatles. And the Beatles went over to India and they tried this thing called transcendental meditation. And I think I really, really want to try it. So that's what we got him that year for Christmas. And he loves it. And it has shifted his energy. And it's his own form of spirituality and how he gets into oneness. But that's his way. And it's beautiful for him. And he will tell you that Julie's helping people. He sees the shift that I help people make in their lives. And he said, that's all I need to know that it's right for her to be doing this. So that's how he answers.
Oh, I love that. That's so sweet.
Very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's such a good point. Like, it's different for everyone. And one person's journey is not someone else's. My husband is a civil engineer by trade. He loves a good spreadsheet. Like, he's very methodical and analytical. And so him, like, having a little woo-woo in there is, it's funny now. And he acknowledges, like, we've done some interesting things. One of the things we did, Polly suggested it, is, and this was years ago, like a manifestation list. And we kind of sync it up with the moon cycle and wrote it down. And then Polly, like years later, she was like, hey, you should go through that list again. And sure enough, he had kept it folded up. And we went through it, and every single item we had brought into our lives. And so I think I could tell, like, in that moment, he was like, I'm a believer. And then he even had a reading with Polly, which I would have never funked it. And he did and loved it. And he was like, he came out of the room and he was like, that was really crazy. That was intense. Because she picked up right away on his grandpa and stuff about our son. And initially, the reading, I think why I wanted him to do it is he was transitioning things in his career. And I was like, just have a reading with Polly. But he sure did get so much more out of it. And you can't predict that. Yeah.
Polly, I don't let that many people into my energy, but if anything comes through, let me know.
Oh, I would totally would. I'm the same way. I have my trusted few that I love. But I have a question for you. So I love the way you described, like, how our vibration raises to connect with those on the other side. But you also mentioned that there are some spiritual teachers out there that you're not aligned with. And so this is always, like, perplexing to me, because there are people, like spiritual teachers, that have this amazing ability to get some of the information out, but their life on this planet is not the healthiest, is the best way I can say it. So I always find that that's interesting, that they have the ability to do that. And yet it's mixed in with, maybe they carry a lot of trauma or whatever. So the message is mixed in with trauma or fear or right. And they're out there.
Oh yeah. You have to be careful of, who you let into your energy field.
Yeah.
I had a friend who was in the car with another friend at the beginning of COVID. And they were like, we just went to see a tarot reader, and she told us that one of us is going to get divorced, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. And I believe that person concentrated and fixated on that so much that it goes back to Sesame Street, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Would that have actually happened if the person didn't plant the seed? But what happens is if you go and get a bad reading or you read a bad spiritual book, that negative energy can sit with you for years, and you have to really understand how to clear it, and that God doesn't want anything bad for you. God, universe, source is on your side. Your biggest cheerleader, doesn't want anything negative, wants to love on you, wants you to have abundance in all things. And so if anybody's out there who's like, that's me, I've encountered that negativity, get rid of it. Imagine energetically that you throw that negative reading in the trash. It's not attached to you anymore. And that you really just believe that God, universe, source wants the best for you and is bringing the best into your life.
I think that's so important, because if you do readings, you forget, power is not the right word, how potentially impactful your words are. And to make sure also that there's clarity throughout the reading, that everything is being understood and not being heard incorrectly, if you will.
Absolutely. That's why I personally don't bring through any negative messages. I only bring through loving, positive messages. I think that this world would be a different place if we just did that to one another. I was watching a reel the other day on Instagram, and they showed a kindergarten teacher telling the students, if you can tell somebody something negative and they can fix it within 30 seconds or less, that's okay to tell them. Like, you got something in your teeth, you got a fuzz in your hair. But if you tell them something that they can't fix in 30 seconds, it's not right to tell them, like, I don't like the color of your shirt, or I don't like that friend. They can't fix that. And I think that healers would be very wise to take on that mode of thinking too.
I love that was like a kindergarten reference, because I saw a meme similar to that, and I literally told my husband when we were out somewhere and I had eaten or something and I got food on me or a drink, stained my shirt. And he was like, oh, you got a stain on your shirt. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I said, you know what? Don't tell me things like that if I can't fix it in 30 seconds. And he was like, well, do we need to go get a new shirt? And I said, that is not the point, honey. It's about your message. It's about the energy you're giving me. But yes, I think probably well received in a kindergarten classroom, better than a discussion out in public with a husband and wife. But so a follow-up question, when you are doing a reading, and does anything negative ever come through, and just with discernment, you put it to the side and you only share positive? Or do you find that not much on the negative vibe comes through even?
I do think that the negative can come through. You just have to be very, very careful with how you say things and how you bring things through. And to your point, Polly, before, sometimes you don't know as a reader how a person is interpreting what you're saying until it's said. There are women who are going to have babies, but you know that it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. You can feel that. They need to focus in on the fact that the babies are coming.
Mm-hmm.
One time I had a client who said, I said, your dad's on the other side. He's holding two babies, a boy and a girl. And she said, I'm pregnant. Which is going to come through first? And I said, I see the girl. And she goes, you're wrong. It's the boy. And I said, okay, happy to be wrong. And I wanted to be wrong in that situation, happy to be wrong in that situation. But she called me later and I didn't even know that this still happened, but she had a stillbirth. And she said, I can't get over what you said. Does that mean that I'm going to have to go through and endure this pain again of losing another child? And I go, oh, no, 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 no. That's not what I meant at all. I meant your dad is holding two beautiful souls on the other side, a baby girl and a baby boy. And they are both coming through happy and healthy in this lifetime. And I'm happy to report that she had the baby girl first. And then just last month, she had the happy, healthy baby boy.
I'm happy about that.
Me too. Me too.
I love that. One thing that you often talk about in your podcast and just kind of following along with you is the term oneness. And I feel like I have a healthy understanding of what that is now that I've followed you for so long. But will you share with the listeners your definition of oneness and some suggestions on how you can get into that?
Yeah. If your listeners know what a groundedness is, where you feel just very rooted energetically through the soles of your feet into the earth, and you just feel very one with the earth, there's another direction that you can go with your energy, where I call it a oneness meditation. It's something that I teach in my book. It's the third episode of my podcast out there for free for people to do. But I was actually just on an interview right before this with Dr. Eben Alexander. He's
yeah.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
I've had him on the podcast a couple of times. He's the expert worldwide in near-death experiences. And he showed me something where I was like, holy cow, that's how it works. When somebody is in an element, they've proven scientifically with string theory that there's 10 different dimensions, right? And some people are living on different wavelengths within this earth realm. And when you have somebody living, and it's not bad or wrong, it's just, it is what it is. You have some people living at a 1 or a 2, and you have some people living at a 9 or a 10. And when a person who's living at a 1 or 2 wavelength works with a person who's living at a 9 or a 10, they just by being in proximity to one another can open up one another. The 9 or 10 can open up the 1 or 2 and jump them all those numbers ahead to the 9 or 10 by knowing what oneness is and how to get them into that energy.
That is fascinating to me. I love that.
Yeah. So I created a meditation that just helps people jump from that 1 or 2 or the 4, 5, 6 up to that 10 energy. And that's what oneness is. So when I'm in a oneness energy, I feel it right now. I can feel it radiating from both of you too. When you're in that energy, you don't feel like you're in your body, or like your spirit is kind of encapsulated in the body. It's that it blurs like coloring crayons, like your energy intermixes with all that is, and everything is you and you are everything. And from that perspective, that's where you're tuned in consciousness wise to the oneness of all that is, the one mind within the universe. And what I like to tell my listeners is any answer that you're ever looking for in your entire life, you just get to that space, no matter where you are, what you're going through. And the answer that you particularly need in your life comes through that consciousness, and it comes through your intuition. That's what that is. So you can be connected to God, universe, source, your angels, loved ones on the other side. And when you're in oneness, they can come through with all of those answers that you've been seeking.
What I love
think
about that,
that's-
go ahead.
Well, I think it's so interesting because I am contemplating writing a blog on the highest expression of self. And that's exactly it. Like, it's not like when you're in the highest expression of self, you are blended in with the other energies. It's not just you. And so it really is that place of oneness that you're talking about. So that's so interesting, the way
Yeah.
you described it.
Yeah, I had on, Heather Ashamara, had her on the podcast last week, and there's just certain things that I'm still trying to figure out here and there. And it's so wild because Spirit will always bring like the right podcast guest on at the right time. And she worked a lot with Don Miguel Ruiz in the Toltec tradition. And I was talking to her because I was like, okay, so there is a place of oneness where all that is perfect, right? They say God is the entire ocean and we're a drop in the ocean that is God, universe, source. There's a place where that energy of wholeness is complete and perfect. And yet I still feel like there's a part of each of our individual droplet souls that's still expanding and growing. And I said, how is that possible? And she's like, well, Julie, how is duality possible, right? Like things can just be two things and two truths at the same time. She goes, but in Toltec tradition, they call it the big soul and the little soul, that the big soul is that perfect state of perfection. And the little soul is the part that's still expanding.
And it's like, because I say the same thing, that we have the potential to be in that place of, if you want to call it perfection, but we choose to not. We choose to have contrast. So there's some part of us that is still choosing to experience this. And it's the same with if it's a lesson in our life. Often we will know this is the better choice, but we choose to experience the choice that's a little goofy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like you don't really appreciate something until you've lived a bit of the contrast to it.
Yeah.
And that's once you've lived the contrast, then why go back once you know how good it can be? Yet, being humans, we tend to fall back into that other experience, just maybe as a friendly reminder to where we would like to be. I don't know, but you're right.
I went deeper into this summer. I was just meditating one morning and Spirit comes in and goes, when you pass, it's not that you don't take anything with you, because that's what people tell us all the time, right?
Yeah.
When you pass away, you don't take anything with you. That's not totally true. You take all of your experiences, you take all of your memories, you take all of the connections that you've made to friends and acquaintances and family members and partners and kids. That love continues. And it's interesting because people who have near-death experiences, it's often so fast, right? Just like a flash in the pan. But when they meditate, they can take one little thing that they experienced on the other side and they can go deeper into it and expand it and understand it. And I can do that a lot of times with the angels, of going into different things and expanding something and understanding it. And, Spirit had said before, because I used to be scared of that one place where everything is one and everything is perfect, because I thought of it like a void, like, God, I don't want to go to that place ever. I don't want to be without my mom. I don't want to be without my sister, my sister, my husband, my daughter, everybody, my doggies, my beautiful, precious doggies. And I heard very, very clearly back, it's not a void of anything. It's being all of it all at once, getting to experience everything simultaneously, which is why I think, when we talk about the highest self, the higher self, we have these flashes of just aha moments, and you're connecting to future parts of you. That's like, you're going to do this. So start working on it now because you need to connect with this person. excuse me, because you need to connect with this person or you need to do this. And it all works together. But when we pass, we really do take those experiences to the other side and we expand them and we can go deeper into them. And that way, I think life is so cool. I got to do a TED talk recently, and this ties in. I was doing a lot of research, which they make you do for TED Talks. And I found this statistic that 92% of people pass away with regrets. And of those, 80+% regret not doing something because of what other people think. But what if your soul needs you to in this lifetime so that you can take that experience to the other side, use it, whether it's in heaven or a different lifetime, for something else?
You guys, we were just talking this weekend. I had a couple of friends over and we were talking about regrets and and we all agreed that when we think about any kind of regret that comes to mind, it's not something we did that we wish we hadn't done. It's something that we had the opportunity or the possibility to do and we held back and didn't do it. So it's so interesting that that is truly one of the statistics. That makes sense to me based on just the conversation we had casually. Yeah.
I also want to bring up, like, when people, like, say somebody's trying to develop their spiritual life, they often think that people that can do readings or are spiritual teachers, that life is easy. There's never any challenge. It's just, whatever. But that's not necessarily true. I mean, maybe we navigate the challenges differently, but there are still things that need to be navigated, if you will. So do you agree with that, Julie?
Oh, absolutely. And, one of the very first spiritual books that I ever read, my mom and dad were going to go through a divorce, and she came home when I was about 12, 13 years old with a big stack of books from Borders. And one was from Louise Hay, one was Wayne Dyer, one was Marianne Williamson, and one
I love that she went that route.
Yeah.
That's a good crew.
For sure. So here she is going through turmoil and I'm trying to help her. And she's like, got these books. So I start going through them too. And she brings home Dark Night of the Soul by Thomas More. And what I love about him as a spiritual teacher is he's so different from other spiritual teachers, where he is almost like a monk. He goes back through, he studies all of the ancient texts. He doesn't know these different languages, but he learns them so that he can get the interpretation just right. And his book, Dark Night of the Soul, talks about how we're not supposed to be happy all the time. That is not what this life is about, but that this life is really about us understanding that challenges are going to come up and getting to a place within ourselves and our relationship with God, universe, source, where we are confident that we are going to be able to handle those challenges and have faith that the right steps will come. We will be guided. We will be given intuitive information that's going to guide us. And if there's any spiritual teacher out there telling you that they are happy 24/7 and that they don't have any challenges, run. Because I can tell you, having interviewed over 500 of world experts in this arena, they're not all happy. And there's a lot of, like we were talking about before, BS that's out there. And you just kind of have to use that discernment. But I'm not happy 24/7. I don't know about you ladies, but we oftentimes, I would get really upset because there were a couple of people that I had on the podcast and they'd be like, Julie, well, you just have to accept and surrender. And I was like, listen, I have accepted. I have surrendered. But the way that you're teaching acceptance and surrender to the world as if there's no effort involved whatsoever. But in order for us to record this podcast today, we had to make the effort of typing in the link and being here and having our hearts open to connect to one another and willing to just share whatever spirit needs to be through. There's effort. We had to have emails beforehand to connect. You can't make it seem like acceptance and surrender within this world means that you're supposed to just lay in bed all day and let God, universe, source bring you whatever's supposed to come. No, you're supposed to live it. And that takes effort. And you can apply the effort and yet be surrendered and fully accept, hey, whatever is going to happen is going to happen. I'm cool with it. That can all happen at the same time.
I love that because you're acknowledging yes, we love God and we put it out there and we are completely living in this universe and we understand there's a higher power, but there's also a bit of free will and action steps on my part too. So that I feel like empowers us a little bit more. So yes, there are things, there are paths, there are experiences that I know for sure I'm going to experience, but also I do have some control-ish and I can take these action steps. And maybe it's going to be the wrong one. Maybe it's just going to be the next step up. But then the stairwell is so big that I only have to do the next step. And then things will unfold. And here we go again.
You want to hear something so cool? Okay, so I was in meditation one day and I got to get my calculator out because I'm not going to remember these numbers. I was in meditation one day and Spirit goes, do the math on this. Some people listen to their intuition and take action. They follow it once a year. And I've worked with those.
That's so funny.
I can tell 52 times a year, right? Now, some people listen to their intuition a little bit and they follow it every week. That's 365 times a year. That 52 is different from 365. Some people listen hundreds of times every day to that intuition, right? Let's just make a short number 100 times a day times 365 days a year. So some people listen once a year. Some people listen 52 times a year. Some people listen 36,500 times a year. Now multiply that by 80 years that you're living your life. And this is where some people come to us and they're like, Julie, why aren't I farther along in life? It's what you just said, Kristin. Some people are following it forward. And does that mean that you're going to get everything right? No. Some things you're going to have to get wrong. But in the process, you're going to meet the person. You're going to remember the mistake. You're going to do things better the next time where it all comes together. But I think that comes out to some people listen 80 times in their lifetime. And some people listen over 3 million times within their lifetime. That's energy, people. Like that's the difference of spirituality and why some people feel it differently. That's the energy of why some people feel fulfilled in life and some don't. It's all the basis for it.
That is crazy. That range is a little bit, I'm set forth. Today I'm listening. I'm ears open, come at me, intuition, give me all the things. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But then there's people that are not, I think there's so many people that aren't even aware that they're like your husband, that they're listening to their intuition, so that the stuff would just completely go over their head, but they live on that vibration and are just pulled forward and yet they're not aware of it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's okay.
Absolutely. Because they're living in the flow. I mean, it's probably better than keeping track, right?
Yeah. Oh, no, for sure. I don't keep track, but I was like, do you ever watch the new Happy Co or her reels? I had her on one time. She's so cool. She wrote a book this year. And when you watch her stuff, it's like, oh my God, are you an energy healer? Because all of her pictures that she develops, you can just feel energies differently and get it on a different level. Mm-hmm. And she goes, oh my God, Julie, that's so funny because I do have my Reiki Master certification. So she's like, I can't believe you picked up on that.
Oh, I like that. So it's so powerful that she didn't even say it, and there it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people are just in that flow.
How
Well,
about
another interesting thing is like, I believe, like, if we look at karma in different ways, like life lessons that come in, but I think one of the biggest karmic things that we have is the mindset that we're born with coming in, because that mindset is going to dictate how we process everything, right? How every challenge that comes along, and that I mean, it's huge, right? Because we have some people that you just cruise through everything, and you have other people that everything is such a struggle. And that has to be karmic, right? Like our mindset, be, because it's also like lots of times the family you're born into. And I think that that's really interesting, because your mindset could dictate that you are not going to be as intuitive in this go around.
Mhm. The angels talk about a lot that there's different reasons that all of us come here as souls. So if you imagine all of us just chilling on the other side in heaven, and some people raise their hands and ask God, universe, source to come through for this lifetime to learn or to grow in some way. God grants their wish, they're here, and you can see their lives play out differently than other people I've seen in a lot of my sessions. It's like they're at a family party on the other side. Their kids are over, their husband's there, and their mom and their kids and their spouse is like, well, I think we've made the decision to go through for another lifetime. And the woman will be like, motherfucker, no, we did this before. We are not going through again. We don't need to do this. And they're like, well, we're going. We would really like you to go with us. But if you don't want to, we completely understand. And so the woman's like, fine, I will go. I will do it. And you can see those lives differently. And then there's some lives where the angels say that they tap souls in heaven and they ask them, hey, in the vibrations and the frequencies of earth, your vibration is needed. We need you to go play this part. And sometimes it's not a helpful part. I think maybe sometimes people are janitors or they're this or they're that, but they're needed. Their frequency is needed here on earth. And so they say, okay, I'm going to go and I'll do it. And it just feels different in readings, which of those three soul types you are. You can get different information to the soul based on that kind of helps them understand their life here more.
That's
That's so
fascinating.
interesting.
I
Yeah.
love that. And I love the idea. Well, I have 3 kids. I have 3 teenagers, and talk about 3 different mindsets on how they navigate life and the challenges and the ups and the downs and the ins and the outs of being a teenager. It's fascinating to me. So that's something to consider, the whole, the mindset and the view and the opinion and the attitude on entering back into the life. Like, motherfucker, I gotta go again. I think I might have one of those. Who shall remain nameless. There's a chance, 3 kids, same parents, very different.
For sure.
As
for
it should
sure.
be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holly, can
Love
you
it.
think of yours? Like your 3? Do you think of their mindsets upon entrance very different?
Oh, their mindsets are completely different. I think that they all have such drive that I believe that drive brought them here, because they all are so independent and have that drive. So even though there might be struggles, they all have, in particular the one, they all have that drive, that fierceness.
Yeah.
If you will.
So Julie, we talk sometimes, like Polly and I joke that I am still in like the psychic closet. Like I don't talk too much woo woo or anything. Like I own Garage Pilates, and in the community that we're in, I'm more of a wellness kind of vibe. But obviously it started with meditation and it's grown so much now. So I don't really, like when I go to PTA meetings or something like that, which I don't do anymore, by the way, but there was a time when I was in the PTA.
Oh my God.
Full disclosure, don't think too high of me because I don't go anymore. But all that to say, do your daughters, friends, parents know what you do for a living, and how did you kind of announce that?
Yeah. So I live when they talk about the Bible Belt of the Midwest, a lot of times they're referring to Wheaton, Illinois, where like we are in a Democratic state, but it is just very, very different here in Wheaton, Illinois. And I'll just say that to just keep it kind and nice.
Fair enough.
But people are very, very opinionated and very, very like their way is the only way that is right. And so in order to protect my mental health, don't bring it up to people. If people want to talk about it with me, that's totally fine. I don't like seeing friends or family for sessions because I have tried that in the past, and certain people have said to me, okay, so you need to do a reading for this person and you need to tell this person this, 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 and this. And I go, no, 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 no. This is not the way that works. I am going to bring through whatever comes through from their spirit team and from their angels. I am not taking direction from you on this. And people do not like that. And so I have great lists for my friends and family of people that they can go see.
Okay.
But I got to protect my mental health too. And you want to know the best story? I don't know if you have time for it.
Yes.
Okay. So, story that illustrates this. I was just getting into this work, and before my vocal disorder, I just had a really long waiting list. And like within the first couple of months, it was booked out. So word spread really fast. And at the time, my daughter was really into American Girl doll stuff. And she has this funny way of collecting everything of an item that she can collect. And then she doesn't play with it anymore. And she goes on to the next thing. So I'm like, I am not investing in all of these American Girl dolls. I am getting them off of Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. Found this woman who before COVID had all this American Girl doll stuff. So I'm getting ready to walk out of my door to go pick these up. I'm standing in the threshold of the doorway and I hear loud and clear from Spirit, go back, get 2 gift cards. One's for her, one's for her friend, and grab more cash because she's got other things that she didn't post. Spirit is so detailed in what they say that it can't not give you the validation that you need. So all the way driving over to this woman's house, like 30 minutes away, I'm dreading it. I'm like, for my own mental health, I cannot do this today. I cannot have this conversation. I don't want to bring up being a medium. I really I'm happy to give her these gift cards, but I don't want to talk about it. And Spirit's like, just do it. Like, stop being a baby about it. Just give her the gift card. So I get over there. I leave the gift cards in the car because I really didn't want to have the conversation. And I go in and she's like, oh my God, I got all this extra stuff upstairs. Do you want to see it? Okay, so I want to buy that. I got to run out to the car to get the extra money. The gift cards are right there on the seat. So I bring them up and I go, so I got these gift cards. The angels said to bring these to you. They said one's for you and one's for a friend. I don't know if you know what a medium is, but this is what I do for work. And she goes, stop. Are you Julie from Wheaton? And I go,
no way.
So funny.
It gets better. She pulls my business card out of her back pocket. We're still friends, Nicole. And she goes, you won't believe this. Yeah, we have your business card. We were just about to call you. My friend's in the basement. She called you from her phone last week, left a message. You called us back about booking a session. We were just about to call you to bring a reading. Now, there is no way that I could have known anything about any of this, but Spirit brings in through validators like that all the time, that they know what's going on. They've got you and everything's going to be okay. But yeah, for my own mental health, Spirit will tell me when they need me to talk about it. And otherwise, I just have a fun night out every once in a while and do my day job 9 to 5 during the day.
There you go. Do you ever, because this happens to Polly sometimes. When you're out and you'll get a ping, like at a restaurant or something, to go tell someone a message or something of that nature. Does that ever happen to you, Julie? And what do you do?
So I don't like to make people cry on their job or while they're out with friends and family.
That's a good rule. I can respect that.
That's so
So
funny.
I bring gift cards. I have gift cards. That's
Oh,
why
that's a great idea.
I made. And I have them all pre-written out. And I just slide them a gift card and I will say, because it does. And Spirit has no other way, but they'll pull you together. Happens at Subway, it happens at TJ Maxx, it happens at Nordstrom's, it happens everywhere. And you just don't know when it's going to happen. Like, I don't decide that. It's just when they say it's there, it's there. So I'll go over and I'll be like, okay, so this is my name. This is what I do. I don't want to bring through messages here. There's no cameras or anything. But if you would like me to bring through messages, give me a call. We'll book a 30-minute reading for free.
That's a great idea.
So good. Have you, because my, in the community we're in, I get hit up all the time at the Pilates studio for gift cards for like a gala or a silent auction. Does anyone ever ask you for those? Like your daughter's school?
I would.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, actually, that's how I got started though. So I had just gone through, I did like a 6-month in-person class. I had gone through mediumship training. And I go, okay, God, I've gotten all these certifications now. What do you want me to do? How do I start this business? How do I put myself out there? And I heard put 5 gift cards in your daughter's fun fair at school. And
that's so funny.
Those 5 people came through. And honestly, the people who won that gift card, those 5 baskets, were the loudest talkers, like the biggest networkers in our city and the most spiritual people ever. So they told everybody, and then those people told everybody. And I swear to you, within a couple of months, the schedule was just booked for months.
That is so cool. I love how that works. And you're right, like word of mouth is the way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And we try and do as much good as possible. I'm not a person who needs a lot of things. So we've been trying to donate as much as possible and give back as much as possible. And that's our mission. Yeah.
Oh,
So does your husband help you with your business?
I wish he would. We've had this conversation lots of times. You know, he's one of those, I text with a couple of really big influencers over on Instagram, and their husbands are like taking 80 pictures at once, you know, they're secret away. And I'm like, hey, Blake, you know, would you take a picture of me? And he goes, like an old man, like he's looking to get the exact right photo, and he's holding the phone, and just with one finger, he goes, boop, you know, there you go. There's your picture. And I'm like, no.
And it's all blurry. It's like you're just running.
First to get the one that looks right. So, no, I have surrendered to the fact that I have a husband who is the world's best person in the whole wide world. He cooks, he cleans, he keeps the laundry going. He's a teacher, just wonderful, but he does not know how to do any of that, nor does he want to.
That's really sweet.
That's fair. Now you know.
So, Julie, where can people learn more about you?
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. There's the podcast, Angels and Awakening. There's also my website, theangelmedium.com. And if you sign up on the homepage, we have 31 days of meditations that you can get absolutely for free. We've got a course where I teach you how to develop your spiritual gifts. That's called the Angel Reiki School. We also have sessions over there available, and my membership.
Your membership. I just want to touch on that for a hot second. I joined that for 2023, and I have to say it was so well put together. Like you started, it was so progressive. It was like anyone could follow it. And then we had the opportunity to move quickly or slowly, revisit anything. And the meditations led us first into that oneness, which I think is key because I feel like we all have approached the oneness in some capacity and maybe never had a label for it. But it was weird because once you find that you have a label for it, then suddenly you're able to get there quicker. And then what did take a 10-minute meditation, suddenly you're like, okay, now I'm in oneness, which was the coolest thing. So it's so easily accessible for everyone. Like any level of spirituality is perfect for this membership.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
We wanted to have like a level 1, level 2, level 3 for people to just kind of go at any pace that they wanted to.
Mhm.
And 2025, we're diving into a whole nother year with your angels. And so, yeah, it's focusing on that oneness, moving you from like a 1 or a 2 to a 9 or a 10, vibrationally, meditation wise, just feeling that filled feeling within your life of fulfillment and, knowing why you're here, what your purpose is, and how to work with your angels every day.
Oh,
I love that.
I do too. Do you have a specific, I mean, obviously getting into oneness, but is there a spiritual practice that you follow like every day? Polly does a certain meditation, and one time I joined her in it, and I've taken that and kind of morphed it into my own practice. But do you have
Yeah.
something you do like every day you start your morning with, or you end with something?
So I've been working on something that I want to write a book for, about how I work with my angels in the morning. But I ended up having so much for a manifestation board, co-creation board, so many things that I had cut out over the years, literally for about 20 years, that I ended up creating a wall in my basement and making a manifestation wall out of it. So I have everything up there that just energetically aligns with me. There's a picture of the saints and Mary and, a monk inside a library reading. And I go there and I sit in front of it for 5 minutes every morning and I get into oneness and I ask my angels what they need to open my mind and my heart to. And I ask them what they want me to work on for the day and what they want me to know. And I just sit there and I journal for about 5 minutes about everything that they're showing me. And based on setting my vibration in the morning and my intention for the day, I just return to that constantly throughout the day, both the vibration and what the angels need to get done that day.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
That's
That's
beautiful. I love that.
Thank you.
Well, we are nearing the end of this fantastic interview that I have thoroughly enjoyed. So,
I'm so excited.
I love it. We're going to put in the
Yeah.
podcast notes all the ways to follow you and get a hold of you, Julie. So the listeners will have plenty of information and resources there. Polly, do you want to share how we can find you?
Absolutely. So my website is pollywyram.com. You can read my articles on Your Tango and Eden Magazine. And Instagram is Polly Wyram. God only knows. There's an underscore in there.
You can find Polly on Instagram at Polly_Wyram. And you can follow this podcast at truth.wellness.psychic. And then I, Kristin, can be found also on Instagram at Garage Pilates. If you want a free Pilates YouTube workout, then you can just go to garagepilates.net. But Julie, thank you so much.
My new t-shirt is going to be, it's not just God only knows, Kristin knows also.
It came from spirit.
That's-
All right, you guys, thank you so much, Julie. This was so fun.
Yes. I love your energy. That's very
Thank
sweet.
you. I love your energy. Both of you guys have beautiful open hearts.
This feels good.
Thank
I'm going to
you
have the
so
best day
much.
ever now. Thank you, guys.
Yay. Thank you.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I had to do it one more time.